march is going to happen after a few of these speakers. This one's very easy. It goes, not another dollar, not another dime, occupation is a crime. So repeat after me, ready?
Occupation, not another dime. Occupation is a crime.
Occupation is a crime. Not another dollar. Not another dime.
We're young Jews.
Occupation is a crime.
Yes, we are getting our engines rolling. Y'all make some noise. Alrighty. The next speaker is so
living in dignified ways, people having their own ability of sovereignty and self-determination, because we know that if we build a world where people are respected, then there will be peace. You can't have peace without justice. It'll never happen. It never will happen. We need to stand up for justice, and that brings about peace. God bless you, and let's continue on.
I want to thank you all for coming, and I want to thank the 60,000 people that signed this letter to Obama. I want to point out that that's a lot of people that signed it, but it's not nearly as many people as are with us and understand this issue. I think it's important to look at what's happened over the last few years, as Cindy and I have been involved in this, basically 10 years, and see the change. So, as the Reverend said, you couldn't talk about this a couple of years ago, and now you have a big backlash against the activities that are going on that Israel does. Now, when our daughter Rachel was killed, she was crushed to death. Well, I was remembering when Angela talked the first time I met her dad. He turned to me and he said, "Your daughter gave her life for a good cause." And I said, "My daughter didn't give her life." And he finished the sentence and said, "No, it was taken." And about 30 minutes later, he turned to me and he said, "And she wasn't killed by a bulldozer either. She was killed by somebody driving a bulldozer." I think it's important to think about human actions. I think it's important to think about our actions and what it has to do with that. So we're asking that the United States not fund Israel when it violates our own laws. Yes. But these are U.S. laws that make it illegal to continue to send money when it's used for human rights violations. And so right now, we've pledged to send $30 billion to Israel over 10 years and $10 billion to its neighbors. All of that in military aid. Now last year, they sent an extra $1 billion because it turns out U.S. had an extra $1 billion that we didn't need to use for education, we didn't need to use for health care, we didn't need to use for our infrastructure. You could have fooled me, but what we needed to do is give an extra $1 billion to Israel. Now,
that Dr. King stood for: ending racism, ending militarism, ending poverty. Here and around the world, we need an entirely new foreign policy that's not based on supporting occupation and imposing wars, but is based on human rights, international law, and equality for all. That's our job. It's not going to come from the White House. We have to be the ones to take it to the White House. That's what social movements do. Social movements make it.
Occupation is a crime!
Occupation is a crime!
Not another dollar!
Not another dollar!
Not another dime!
Not another dime!
Occupation is a crime!
Occupation is a crime!
That's what we're about, standing up against injustice, occupation, and human rights violations. It doesn't matter your religion or your color of skin. Open up your eyes.
And say, President Obama, you know, you didn't do a whole lot in your first term.
Yeah.
There were several times when you made some great speeches. Remember in Cairo? I actually happened to be in Gaza myself as that was occurring. I was actually on a delegation led by Code Pink. It was amazing. And one of the most exciting things was hearing that Obama was in Cairo saying we were going to make a difference here in the U.S. and see that change happens. Well, as we all know, that didn't happen, but after that, there's been an Arab Spring, and unfortunately, on the Israeli side, things had deteriorated enormously, and as everybody probably knows, and in fact, for the last few years, there's no longer any attempt to hide the fact that the leadership in Israel, not just on the far right, but it's becoming more and more universal, that they're saying, we're not going to leave the territories, the occupied territories. We are going to stay. And they're Judaizing, that's what they call it, Judaizing Jerusalem. And we need to tell Obama it's time to stop allowing this, to say that Israel can no longer depend on our unconditional aid. Letter to Obama and say, all right, enough is enough. No blank check for Israel. 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 Woo! So
we got to continue this message for as long as it takes to bring justice that the Palestinians deserve. So please keep in mind that it doesn't stop today. We got to keep going. We got to keep continuing. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but I think everybody here is ready for the challenge and we're ready to put ourselves to work. So thank you, good luck, and let's get ready to march. Thank you.
It is not a coincidence that among the organizers, in fact, the lead organizers of this demonstration are Jewish Americans. Jewish Americans who care deeply about the people of Israel. And the people of Israel are led by a government that is absolutely insane. They are doing something that is absolutely not going to happen. For 65 years, they were able to put down my people, the Palestinians, and crush them. And thinking that they could crush them like cockroaches. In fact, the word cockroaches was used by several leaders of Israel in reference to the Palestinians. And every time the Palestinians come back, because nothing happens in this country without a mass movement. Nothing happens until it comes from the street. The movement for civil rights happened in the streets. They forced Congress. They forced Johnson. They forced all the presidents to do it. It has to happen from the street. And we can't be asleep anymore. We have to wake up and tell them to stop driving drunk and taking us all into a disaster. Go out and tell them. No blank checks for Israel. No blank checks for Israel. Thank you very much.
So of Jewish Voice for Peace. I am a proud Jewish leader and I oppose the occupation. There is not one monolithic voice within the Jewish community. There is diversity of voices within the Jewish community. Today is Shabbat. Shabbat is a day when we envision a world of dignity, of respect, of justice. When I look at what my American tax dollars are supporting in Palestine, do I see Shabbat there? No, I don't. We stand for Shabbat. As we are about to pray with our feet, meeting over there, please join me.
This is occupation is a crime.
This is a lot more important than a mock wedding. Long live Palestine! Free Palestine! Palestine!
Viva, viva Palestina!
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 Viva, viva Palestina! Viva, viva Palestina! Palestine!
دانيا انت خلي عينك على
Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Free Palestine! Hey, hey!